Revealed, incredible journey of a little girl and her newborn abandoned at midnight. A cop and a heartfelt mission. The quiet streets of Maplewood glimmered under the moonlight, but they concealed a heartbreaking story waiting to unfold. Officer Jake Thompson, a dedicated policeman, patrolled these familiar roads with a watchful eye. But tonight, something was different. An unexpected chill ran through the air as he rounded the corner of Maple Park. There, nestled on a bench, lay a small bundle wrapped in a tattered blanket. His heart raced as he stepped forward, revealing the tiny, newborn face staring back at him, just hours old, abandoned, and alone. Tears filled Jake's eyes. The sight pierced deep into his soul, igniting a fierce determination to uncover the child's origins and confront the tragic reality of abandonment. Just a stone's throw away, 10-year-old Lily sat in her modest home, wide-eyed and curious. She watched her single mother juggle endless chores and late-night shifts, tirelessly pouring herself into work that barely kept them afloat. Lily's heart swelled with admiration for her mother. Despite their struggles, she saw the sparkle of hope in her tired eyes, a spark she felt compelled to fan. Little did she know, a storm was brewing just outside their unassuming neighborhood. Whispers about the abandoned baby began to swirl around her, tugging at her heartstrings. Everyone deserves a second chance, she believed, and Lily felt a magnetic pull to help in any way she could. As fate would have it, their paths crossed. Jake, shaken by the sight of the abandoned child, found his way to Lily's front porch. They shared a moment. An urgent bond formed over a shared mission. Together, they began their investigation, each inquiry pulling them deeper into the web of the community. But skepticism loomed over them like a dark cloud. "What can a little girl do?" murmured the naysayers, while others judged Lily's mother harshly, failing to see the resilience that lay behind her fatigued facade. Yet, Lily refused to be deterred. Her spirit was like a bright light against the shadows of discrimination, urging both Jake and the community to seek compassion instead of judgment. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they pieced together clues, a missing person's case surfaced, intertwining with the baby's fate. The discovery revealed an incredible emotional connection to a once promising young woman, trapped by circumstance. Jake felt the weight of justice pressing down on him, as he uncovered the layers of systemic failure within their community. The path to redemption wasn't straightforward, it often felt like an uphill battle against entrenched biases. But with every step they took, the fire inside Jake and Lily fueled their purpose. Now standing on the edge of transformation, Jake and Lily worried about their next move. Could they really ignite a conversation within a community so steeped in judgment? Would they be able to gather others, shaking the very foundations of prejudice that kept so many lives stricken with despair? As possibilities loomed ahead, both heroes braced for the truth, the hidden connections and possibilities that awaited discovery. Would they ignite change, or would fear quench the flickering light of hope before it could shine? Time was ticking, and their journey was only just beginning. With the dawn creeping over Maplewood, the dim light cut through the shadows of uncertainty. Jake and Lily gathered early to plan their next steps. They sat on Lily's porch, the air thick with the scent of dew-kissed grass and freshly brewed coffee. Jake sipped his drink, ruminating on the case. Each sip was a reminder of urgency, every moment lost could mean another chance to protect the innocent slipping through their fingers. Lily, brimming with energy, broke the silence. "What if we talk to Mrs. Jenkins? She knows everyone around here." Her brown eyes sparkled with determination, she could almost see the dawn of hope shimmering in the distance. Jake nodded, appreciating her enthusiasm amidst the weight of the world on their shoulders. "Great idea. Mrs. Jenkins has been here forever, she might know something about the baby or even the mother. They set off down the sunlit street, the soft light washing away the remnants of night. Jake felt a mix of admiration and gratitude for Lily. She was just a child, yet her fervor mirrored his own when he first joined the force. As they approached Mrs. Jenkins' quaint house, vibrant flowers bursting with color seemed to breathe life into the day. Knocking on the door, they were welcomed with warmth from the elderly woman, her smile a brief respite from the storm they faced. "Oh, dears, what brings you both here this lovely morning?" she asked, eyes twinkling with curiosity. "Mrs. Jenkins, we're looking into a missing persons case, and we think it might be linked to the baby found in the park," Jake said gently. He held his breath, hoping she would have some answers. Mrs. Jenkins' expression shifted, her brow furrowing in concern. "Oh, that poor little thing. How could someone do such a thing?" She waved them inside, a gesture of safety and trust. "I have seen a woman around here lately, she seems troubled, always keeps to herself. I thought nothing of it at the time, but could you describe her?" Lily leaned in, her eagerness overpowering her shyness. Mrs. Jenkins recounted what she knew. "She has long, dark hair and a sad look in her eyes. Always wearing the same red jacket. I heard she had a baby once, but I never saw the child with her." Each word hung in the air, heavy with implications. What if she's the baby's mother? Jake, piecing together the fragments of a mystery, felt hope swell. They might be closer to the truth than he had anticipated. Lily gasped softly, her heart racing. She might need help. Maybe she didn't leave the baby because she wanted to. Her innocent thoughts cut through the tangled mess of their investigation. Jake's heart swelled with pride for her compassion. Just then, a knocking sound echoed from outside. Jake instinctively moved to the window, peering through the curtains. Two shadowy figures stood on the sidewalk, energy crackling in the air, but Jake's heart sank. One of them was a familiar face, Tommy, an often troubled kid from school. The other was an older man, his arms crossed tight against his chest, a storm brewing in his expression. "Do you believe in second chances?" Jake whispered to Lily, the crowd of questions swirling in his mind. He knew they were about to face a crossroads that could change everything. Lily's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "What do you mean?" "Let us find out." Jake knew that with every step they took, they were not just uncovering a mystery, they were igniting a conversation and possibly paving the way for redemption. As he opened the door, he couldn't shake the feeling that this moment could be pivotal, for both the abandoned baby and the lost souls before them. Would the truth bring healing or heartache? And would they be ready for what lay ahead? As Jake opened the door, the sunlight spilled into the small living room, casting golden rays that danced off the walls. Tommy stood there, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. The older man, whose frown seemed etched in stone, kept his arms crossed tightly against his chest, making it clear he wasn't pleased to be there. "Mr. Callahan," Jake greeted, catching the man's hard gaze. Jake knew him well, he was the owner of the garage down the street and had a reputation for being hard on kids like Tommy. The tension felt palpable, as if the air itself was aware of the unsaid words circling amongst them. "What's this about, Jake?" Callahan's voice was rough, a gravelly sound that matched his stern demeanor. Tommy's eyes darted between the two adults, confusion mixing with fear in his expression. "We might have a lead on something important," Jake said, keeping his tone calm. He gestured for them to come inside. "Let us talk." As they settled in, Jake motioned for Tommy to take a seat. The boy hesitated, glancing nervously at Mr. Callahan before finally sliding into a chair. Lily filled the space beside him, her presence an anchor of warmth in the room. She looked at him, her eyes soft and inviting. "What is going on?" Tommy finally managed, his voice a mere whisper. "Do you know anything about the baby found in the park?" Jake asked, searching Tommy's face for any hint of knowledge. Callahan scoffed. "You really think this kid has anything useful?" I think we should at least hear him out, Jake countered, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Tommy, can you remember anything recent? Anyone different in your neighborhood? Tommy's brow furrowed as he thought hard. I saw a woman with a red jacket. She looked really sad, you know. He paused, biting his lip as if weighing the consequences of his words. She was walking near the park a few nights ago. I thought she was just crazy or something. Jake's heart rate quickened. You saw her after the baby was found? Tommy nodded slowly. Yeah. I heard people talking about a baby, but I never thought. His voice trailed off, leaving the room heavy with unsaid thoughts. Lily leaned forward. What did she look like? How was she acting? She was really jittery. She kept looking over her shoulder, like someone was following her. Tommy's voice trembled as he finally spoke the fear he carried. Callahan's expression softened briefly before returning to his usual hardness. Kids shouldn't be on the streets at night, it's dangerous. I warned him. Tommy, it's important, Jake urged, sensing the boy needed encouragement. You're being brave. Keep going. The boy met Jake's gaze, finding unexpected strength in his words. I heard her crying. She was standing by the swings, and I thought she lost something. He took a shaky breath. Then I saw her run off. Do you know where? Jake pressed, every second feeling like a lifetime. Tommy hesitated. I don't know, but there's this old lot behind the school. I saw her head that way. Jake felt hope begin to stir within him. That's good, Tommy. You might have just helped a lot. Thank you. The atmosphere shifted, tinged with the electricity of possibility. Yet, as Jake's mind raced, a flicker of doubt crept in. What if they were too late? What if Tommy's words led them into danger? Mr. Callahan stood abruptly, his voice low yet serious. You need to understand something, Jake. People don't just disappear. You need to tread carefully. Sometimes all you find is darkness. Feeling the weight of the impending choices, Jake nodded solemnly. We have to try. For the baby. For any family that might still be fighting. As silence enveloped the room, Lily's eyes shimmered. But what if she's really scared? What if we find her and she runs? Jake's heart ached. Then we'll need to show her she's safe. That there's still hope. But as he glanced between the uncertain faces around him, he wondered if that hope was enough or if darkness was waiting to swallow them whole. What came next would test everything they believed in. Tomorrow, they would face the unknown. But tonight, the shadows loomed heavier than ever. Would they be ready to embrace the truth, whatever it may be? The morning light broke through the curtains, draping the room in a soft glow. Jake sat at the kitchen table, the remnants of breakfast forgotten as his mind raced. Tommy's words echoed repeatedly in his head. He thought about the old lot behind the school, a place long left to decay, now holding the promise of answers. I can't shake this, he muttered to Lily, who was leaning against the counter, her arms crossed, a worried expression etched across her face. If that woman ran off, what was she running from? Jake, she said slowly, her voice gentle but firm. We have to be careful. This isn't just a normal search. If Tommy saw her acting strange, she could be in distress. I know, he replied, rubbing the back of his neck. But what if we're her only chance? What if she needs help? She looked thoughtful for a moment. It's the unknown that scares me most. What if there's a reason she's hiding? His phone buzzed, vibrating against the table. He picked it up, hoping for news or at least a signal of hope. It was a message from Officer Mills, a few quick words that didn't give him much comfort. Meet me at the lot. The urgency in those words made his stomach twist. I've got to go, he said, standing abruptly. I'll check things out. What if you can't find her? What if it's too late? She pressed, her voice rising slightly in panic. He stepped closer to her, meeting her gaze with determination. Then I'll find a way to help. I promise. But I can't just wait here. As he left the house, Jake's resolve solidified into something unbreakable. The streets were quiet except for the rustling leaves and distant sounds of traffic. He made his way to the lot, heart hammering in his chest. Each step felt like it carried more weight than the last, as if he were walking into a storm. The old lot stretched out before him, a forgotten place where weeds grew tall and litter lay strewn about like lost dreams. He approached the entrance, squinting into the shadows. It was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that raised the hairs on his neck. "Hello?" Jake called, his voice echoing off the crumbling walls. He strained to hear any sign of life, any indication that someone was nearby. And then he saw her, a flash of red in the distance, half hidden behind a pile of debris. It was unmistakable. The woman from Tommy's description was there, her back turned toward him. Something about her posture was haunting, tense and fragile, as if she were ready to bolt at the slightest sound. He took a cautious step forward. "Hey, I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to help." Her head whipped around, revealing a face streaked with tears, eyes wide and terrified. She looked so small, lost in a world that seemed so big and cruel. "Please don't come any closer," she yelled, her voice trembling. Jake stopped, holding his hands up in surrender. "I just want to talk. I heard about what happened. I want to help you and the baby." For a moment, silence stretched between them. Her gaze flicked toward the ground, uncertainty battling with desperation. Jake could see her fighting an internal battle, torn between fear and the longing for safety. "I can help you find a safe place," he urged gently, taking another step. "You're not alone. I promise." With each breath, he could feel the weight of the moment. The air was thick with unresolved pain, and he knew he was teetering on the edge of something crucial. What would it take to get through to her? But as he looked at her, he felt a shadow rising, an uneasy sensation creeping back into his gut. Then, before Jake could react, she turned around and ran. "Wait!" he shouted, instinct taking over as he sprinted after her. The chase led them deeper into the lot, where the light began to fade. Panic surged in him as he silently willed her to stop, to trust him. As her footfalls echoed in his ears, he could only think of the baby and the darkness that loomed just beyond reach. He knew they'd have to confront it, and soon. But would he ever be able to bring her back from the edge? Jake's heart raced, racing against time and fear. In this moment, he was no longer just seeking answers, he was fighting for a future. What would they uncover in the shadows? Would he be able to save her? The answer lay just ahead, shrouded in uncertainty. He pushed himself harder, the sounds of the world fading as he chased her through the twisted pathways of the lot. The tangled weeds snagged at his shoes as he darted around piles of rubble and broken glass, the debris of a forgotten past. His thoughts were a chaotic blend of urgency and fear. "Please, just stop," he yelled again, his voice strained. "I don't want to hurt you." With each desperate stride, he felt the weight of his promise to Lily pressing down on him, a promise that meant everything. He couldn't let her down. He had to reach the woman, had to make her understand that there was still hope. Then she faltered for just a moment, glancing back at him. Jake's heart leapt. Maybe she would hear him, maybe she would stop running. "You don't have to do this alone. I can help you." In that fleeting moment of eye contact, her fearful expression softened just enough to give him hope. But it vanished as quickly as it came. With a sudden burst of energy, she sprinted toward a rotting structure in the distance. Was it her only escape? Was there something in there she believed would keep her safe? Jake pushed his legs harder, willing his adrenaline to fuel him. As he neared, he caught sight of her slipping through a narrow gap in the crumbling wall. He skidded to a halt, heart pounding, panting, fighting to stay calm. The shadows seemed to shift within and he felt that chill creep back up his spine. "Wait! I'm coming!" he shouted, trying to maintain his composure even as panic threatened to overwhelm him. He approached the gap, taking a moment to gather his breath. The dim light inside made it hard to see, but he could hear her moving through the debris. It sounded like she was backing herself into a corner. "Please. I'm not here to hurt you," he said again, quieter now, his voice steadying. "I just want to talk. Just let me help." Silence hung in the air. He could feel the weight of whatever hesitations, fears, and decisions pressed down on her. Then, unexpectedly, her voice came back, trembling but firm. "You don't know what I've done, you can't help me." Her words hit Jake like a cold wave, a punch to the gut. "Whatever it is, please, I want to understand. I swear you're not alone in this." He took a cautious step forward, peering deeper into the structure. Shadows loomed larger, taking shape around him, and he could almost feel the memories echoing off the walls, a past filled with pain, secrets, and regrets. "I can't go back. I can't." The woman's voice broke, raw and desperate, a heartache spilling out into the air. Jake's heart ached for her. "You don't have to face it alone. You can fight this together. Just give me a chance." In that stillness, something shifted. He could sense her fear slowly giving way to something else. The instinct to flee was wavering, replaced by a flicker of trust. Suddenly, an eerie sound snapped him back to reality, more footsteps, heavy and dragging, coming from the direction of the lot entrance. Jake's stomach churned as he realized they were not alone. "Hey! Is someone in there?" A voice shouted, deep and authoritative. "Officer Mills." A wave of dread washed over him. If she was caught by the wrong people, stay right there. Mills barked. Jake's instinct kicked in. He had to protect her, but how? "Run!" he yelled back at her. "Get out of here." But would she listen? Would she escape in time? And what trouble was looming on the other side of the wall? Panic surged as he realized this moment would define everything. In a fight for survival, who would make it out unscathed? The answers felt tantalizingly close, yet just out of reach. What terrible truths awaited them? Would they have the strength to face them head-on? Jake's heart raced at the sound of Officer Mills's voice. He felt like he was standing on the edge of a cliff, unable to decide whether to pull her back or leap into the unknown. "Please!" he called out again, his voice urgent. "Don't let them catch you." There was a moment of hesitation. He could almost hear her heartbeat, a frantic rhythm in the silence, but then the shifting of debris told him she had made her choice. "Who's there?" Mills demanded, sounding closer now. "Show yourself. Stay back." Jake yelled, instinctively stepping into the darkness, shielding her with his body from the approaching threat. Shadows enveloped him like a protective cloak, but he felt its weight press down on him. He was more scared than he had ever been, but he didn't have time to dwell on his fear. "Jake?" the woman whispered, her voice trembling but steady. "What should I do?" Just be quiet. If you can, keep going toward the back." He pointed to the darker recess where he sensed she could hide. Mills was getting impatient now. "I'm warning you. I want to ask again." Jake felt the heat of anger coursing through him. "You don't know what you're doing," he shouted into the dark. "You can't help her if you don't understand." Suddenly, a flash of light pierced the gloom, illuminating the scattered debris. In that moment, Jake saw a glimpse of her fear-stricken face. It was a split second, but it meant everything. He couldn't let her be discovered like this. "Stay down," he urged, crouching lower, his mind racing. If he could just buy a little time, maybe she could escape. Just then, Mills stepped into the opening, the flashlight illuminating the chaos around them. "Jake, what the hell is going on? Get out of there." His tone shifted from authoritative to concerned as he realized Jake had put himself in danger. "Please," Jake pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice. "You don't understand. She's not who you think she is." Mills's brow furrowed. "Then tell me. Who is she?" In the flickering shadows, he caught the reflection in her eyes, pleading silently for him to explain. He felt the weight of every second counting down, the terror of being caught swelling inside him. She's just lost." Jake stammered, just like so many others. "She's been through hell. You can't pull her back into darkness." The officer hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. "What do you mean lost? How do you know her?" Jake took a breath, choosing his words carefully. "I know what it means to feel trapped. To feel like you can't escape your past. I can help her if you just trust me." "Help her?" Mills echoed, unsure. "You're risking everything. You don't know what's at stake." "That's exactly why I can't let her go. We can change this," Jake urged, feeling every ounce of determination surge within him. "Let me show you." Before Mills could respond, a loud crash echoed from the entrance, drawing their attention. A group of unfamiliar figures had entered the lot, their voices full of menace, calling out into the darkness. "Where is she?" one of them shouted, the anger palpable in the air. Jake's heart dropped. This was worse than he had imagined. "They're not here to help." He cried out, his instincts again screaming at him to protect her. "Jake!" Mills snapped, voice sharp as he stepped closer, "Get out of there before it's too late." But the choice wasn't his alone anymore. The woman behind him was shifting, her breaths rapid, a flicker of defiance in her eyes. "I want to fight, too," she whispered fiercely. "Then we fight together," he said firmly, feeling the strength of their shared determination. But could they truly stand their ground against the rising storm outside? Would confronting their fears result in liberation or devastation? As the footsteps grew louder, Jake gripped her shoulder tightly. "No matter what happens, we won't give up." The moment hung there, suspended in time. Outside, danger lingered, while inside, fraught silence awaited a decision that would change everything. What would they find when they finally stood together against the world? The sound of pounding footsteps drew closer, echoing against the concrete walls. Shadows danced wildly, and Jake felt the weight of their decision press down hard on his chest. He could sense the woman beside him shifting, her presence both comforting and terrifying. "Stay close," he murmured, glancing back at her. Her eyes were wide, filled with a mix of fear and determination. She nodded, clutching her arms around herself, as if bracing for an impending storm. "Please, let us not wait any longer," she whispered. There was an edge to her voice that sparked a flicker of courage within him. He turned to Mills, who still stood uncertain, torn between duty and a growing empathy. "If we let them take her, it'll be the end. You have to trust me. We can beat them together." Mills opened his mouth, probably to protest, but the voices outside cut through the tension. "I think she's in there." One shouted, and another added, "You think we're playing games?" Jake's heart raced. There was no more room for debates. He glanced at the tightly sealed exit, their only chance for escape. "We have to move, now." Without waiting for a cue, he took her hand, leading her deeper into the shadows at the back of the lot. They darted through the debris, moving deeper into the darkness. Each step felt like a heartbeat against the silence surrounding them. "What now?" she asked, eyes darting around. "Just keep quiet until we find a way out," Jake responded, swallowing hard as the panic surged within him. The chaos outside escalated. He could hear footsteps invading the structure they crouched in. Another loud crash resonated, followed by a bone-chilling shout. She has to be around here. Mills finally stepped back toward the group, saying, "We have to search this place, she can't get away." Jake could hear the determination in his voice, but there was still a flicker of reluctance, as if the officer was grappling with the haunting reality of what their next actions might bring. "What if we just show ourselves?" the woman asked, biting her lip. "I can explain no." Jake snapped. "We can't risk that. They want something from you, and we don't know how far they'll go." Suddenly, unyielding noise erupted, and they froze. The thud of a body hitting the ground sent a chill through them. "What's happening?" she whispered, her voice quivering. "I'm not sure." Jake trailed off as adrenaline shot through him. "Stay low." Drawing in a shaky breath, he began to creep forward, searching for any sign of a way out, his heart pounding in his ears. Then the ground shook once more as heavy footsteps pounded toward them. "Get that door open. She can't be far." The angry voices were now mixed with thunderous shouts that echoed in the half-lit space. "Jake!" Mills yelled, and the urgency in his voice sliced through the chaos. "We need to get out. They'll call for backup." Jake turned back to the woman beside him, their eyes locking for a brief, intense moment filled with unspoken promises. "We'll figure this out. Just trust me." She nodded, clenching her jaw. Together. With one final surge of determination, Jake moved toward a window at the back of the room. If they could just break through, there was a chance. Fresh air beckoned, infused with the smell of freedom and uncertainty, but it also smelled of danger. He reached for the glass, but a chilling thought pricked his mind. What if the moment they escaped led them into something even worse? What if they weren't ready for what lay beyond the frame of darkness? "Mills!" he shouted, urgency begging for an answer. "Do you have any backup nearby?" The officer shook his head, grim-faced. "No, it's just us. We have to hurry." Jake looked back at the woman, their hands nearly touching, eyes wide with fear and grit. Just as he prepared to make a decision that could change everything, the door swung open with a loud crash, and the groups of men rushed in, volatile and ruthless. The moment of truth had arrived, and they had no choice but to face it head-on. Would they find their way to safety, or would they be swallowed by the rising tide of violence? As they stood at the brink of action, Jake felt an electrifying pulse of hope. What awaited them in the chaos outside? Would they become what they feared? Before he could spiral into doubt, they leapt into the unknown. The world exploded into madness as they burst through the window, jagged glass glittering like deadly stars in the dim light. Jake felt the sharp slice of a shard graze his shoulder, but adrenaline drowned out any pain. He threw the woman ahead of him, guiding her as they dove into the night, landing hard on the ground outside. The air was cooler here, carrying a blend of raw earth and distant city sounds, the unmuffled chaos of sirens screaming into the night. His heart hammered against his ribs, each beat pounding the grim reality into his mind. There was no turning back. "Go!" he urged, pulling her to her feet. She stumbled but quickly regained her balance, concern etched in her eyes. They sprinted into the darkness, the faint lights of the street cutting through the oppressive shadows. Mills was right behind them, shouting orders over the din, trying to sound composed. "Head toward the alley. Stay low." They crouched low against a cold brick wall, breathless and desperate. The sounds of pursuit grew louder, shouts echoing behind them, sharp and demanding. Where did they go? "Search the area." She pressed her back against the wall, eyes wide, breathing heavily. "What if they find us?" Her voice trembled. Jake could see fear spinning in her eyes. "They won't," he reassured, though the words felt distant even to him. "We just need a moment to think." Mills was at their side, scanning the vicinity. "We need to split up," he said, urgency in his tone. "I'll draw them to me while you find a way out." Jake shot a look at Mills, uncertainty flickering in his gaze. No way, we do this together, he replied fiercely. We'll find a way. I've got to do this. I can buy you time, Mills insisted. There was a sincerity in his voice, one that begged Jake to understand. You have to protect her. Jake swallowed hard, instinctively stepping closer to the woman. No, we can do this together, trust me, Mills urged, his jaw set with determination. You might not get another chance. Go. With a heart heavy with dread, Jake nodded. He had to trust in Mills, had to believe in their plan, even if it felt like everything was crumbling before him. Stay close, he whispered to the woman, fastening his grip on her hand. As Mills broke away, yelling into the night to redirect their pursuers, Jake pulled the woman further into the shadows. They glided into the alley, where a narrow passage led them deeper into the urban maze. The sounds behind them faded as a new wave of adrenaline surged through them. They had to keep moving. Jake, she gasped, struggling to keep pace. What if he doesn't make it? He paused briefly, guilt slicing through him. What if they lost Mills? He will. He is strong, Jake managed to sound confident, but doubt gnawed at him. As they slipped into another set of shadows, a flicker of light caught Jake's eye. It illuminated a door, partly ajar, which seemed to hold a promise of safety. In there, he urged, pushing her ahead of him. They ducked through the door, collapsing onto a dusty floor inside the abandoned building. The quiet here was a stark contrast to the storm brewing outside. He could feel the pulsating fear in his chest slowly give way to a cautious hope. What now? She asked, glancing around the dimly lit space. We wait, he replied, scanning for any signs of their pursuers. Moments felt like hours as the silence enveloped them. But Jake's heart sank when he heard distant voices growing again, laughter echoing through the hallways nearby. They're searching, he said softly, panic creeping back in. Then she squeezed his hand, steadying him. We have each other, she said, surprising him with calm resolve. Jake nodded, their connection anchoring him against the chaos. Yet, as more footsteps approached, Jake realized that their hardest fight might still be ahead. What would it take to escape this hell? And what would they uncover in the darkness? Would they emerge stronger or be lost in the fire? Jake's breath quickened as the footsteps grew louder, reverberating off the cold, crumbling walls. Panic settled in his chest, heavy and suffocating. He pressed himself against the wall, trying to blend into the shadows, but the woman beside him was trembling as if she could sense the danger lurking outside. Listen, he whispered, squeezing her hand tighter. We're going to get out of this. I promise. She nodded, though her wide eyes betrayed her fear. I can't go back, she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. I can't. Hey, Jake interrupted softly. He turned to face her, determination flooding his veins. We aren't going back. Not to that place. Not ever. A moment stretched between them, filled with unspoken fears and unyielding hope. Then, as if on cue, a loud crash echoed from outside. Jake flinched, adrenaline flooding his system again. We need a plan, he said, his voice trailing off. Suddenly, a bright beam of light sliced through the darkness of the room. He pressed closer to the wall, heart racing. They weren't alone. He could hear muffled conversations, the searchers nearby. Fear gripped him, but something inside him flared with resolve. He would not let them be caught. What if we go up? She suggested, her voice quivering but full of courage. Is there a back door? Jake considered it. The building was old and abandoned, but he recalled seeing a staircase at the far end of the room. It might lead to the roof, he replied, hope threading through his tone. If we can get up there, maybe we can find a way out. She nodded again, this time with more conviction. Let us do it. They slipped through the shadows toward the staircase. Moving quietly was a challenge, each creak of the floor felt like a thunderclap in the tense silence. As they reached the base of the stairs, Jake glanced back at the door, half expecting to see it swing open. But there was nothing, just the heavy atmosphere thickening around them. Ascending the steps cautiously, they finally reached the dim upper floor. Dust hung in the air, shimmering in the faded light from a cracked window. No one had been this way in years. Jake moved first, keeping low as they made their way toward the roof access. Almost there, he whispered, his grip on her hand not loosening. He could see the door leading outside ahead. Sweat beaded on his forehead, and he prayed for a miracle. They pushed through the door and stumbled out onto the roof, where the city felt alive and vibrant below them, a stark contrast to the prison they had barely escaped. The night sky sparkled overhead, but danger was still close behind. "Look!" she gasped, pointing. At the edge of the roof, two figures emerged from a nearby alley below, searching for signs of life. Jake's heart raced. They were relentless. "Where do we go now?" she breathed, the uncertainty creeping back. Maybe. He paused, scanning the skyline, trying to catch a glimpse of an escape route. "We could jump to the adjacent building. It's not far." Her eyes widened. "Are you serious?" Jake nodded, forcing himself to meet her gaze. "We have to take risks if we want to survive. We do this together." She took a deep breath, steeling herself. Together. They backed up, adrenaline coursing through their veins. Just as he took a step forward, a loud shout echoed from below. "Hey! Over here!" Jake's stomach dropped. He looked at her, fear and defiance battling in his expression. They could either stand there and be found or take the leap of faith. "On three," he said, trying to control the tremors in his voice. 1, 2. Before he could utter the last number, they launched themselves towards the edge. As they flew into the unknown, everything faded to a blur around them, and Jake realized that whatever happened next could change everything. What awaited them on the other side? Would they land safely or fall into the abyss? They hit the neighboring roof with a thud, rolling to soften the fall. Adrenaline surged through Jake as he pushed himself up, glancing back to see if they were pursued. The shouts rang out from below, the voices sharp and demanding, but they had escaped. For now. "Are you okay?" he asked, catching the woman's eye. She nodded, her breath coming in quick pants, but there was a spark of something. Determination? Relief? Maybe both. "We need to keep moving," Jake urged, heart racing. He could feel the chaos all around them, the echoes of uncertainty propelling him forward. "This way." He pointed toward a narrow ledge that led to an adjoining rooftop. They hurried across the surface, every step a reminder of the danger still nipping at their heels. The weight of their escape hung heavily in the air, but so did an unexpected rush of freedom. As they navigated the uneven terrain, a growing sense of resolve bloomed inside him. It was no longer just about self-preservation, it was about protecting her, about carving a path into the unknown together. But suddenly, a thought echoed in Jake's mind: what would happen once they got away? Would the fear of their past consume them even in their escape? For her sake, he had to stay focused. "Do you have family? Friends?" he asked, glancing back to gauge her response. She hesitated, her brow furrowing as if she were weighing the consequences of opening up. "No, not anymore," she confessed quietly. "I lost everyone a long time ago." His heart twisted, aching for her strength amidst such loss. "Well, you're not alone now," he promised, conviction spilling from his lips. "We're in this together." A tiny smile fought its way through her fear. "Okay," she said softly, the hint of hope threading through her words. As they reached the next rooftop, it felt like they were racing against the clock, every second a reminder that they could still be caught. "There." Jake pointed to the emergency fire escape trailing down the side of the building. "We can get down there." With urgency fueling their footsteps, they made their way toward the rusted stairs. The clang of the metal reverberated in the still air, announcing their descent. Each step resonated with potential danger, but Jake kept his focus sharp. They had come too far to stumble now. They stepped onto the ground at last, feeling a rush of victory. The night air enveloped them, an unfiltered taste of freedom mingling with the lingering fear. "Which way?" she asked, looking around, eyes wide with trepidation. "Anywhere but here," Jake replied, breathing deeply. The streets were quieter now, the chaos of the night starting to fade, but their memories of what had happened still clung to them. A sudden horn blared from a nearby street, and instinct kicked in. "Let us corner behind those dumpsters." They slipped into the shadows, hearts racing as they pressed against the cold metal, side by side in their sanctuary of darkness. For a moment, they paused. And then Jake exhaled, his breath coming out heavy with the weight of everything they endured. "Nobody ever said life was easy," he murmured, realizing how much he meant it. She looked at him, and in that moment, they both silently acknowledged the journey, every hardship, every fleeting moment of hope sparking amidst grief. "Can we really change things?" she asked, her voice cracking slightly. "I believe we can," Jake said fiercely. "Every small step counts, even if it's just us against the world for now." A warmth bloomed between them, igniting an unbreakable spirit. Together, they would confront the shadows of their past, not just for themselves, but for every lost soul who felt abandoned. It was their mission now, to find healing, to usher forth hope, and to fight against the darkness. "Together," she echoed, and the word hung in the cool night air. They spent the next few moments regaining their breath, fully aware that instead of looking back, they had to look forward. Their next choice was crucial. Suddenly, a voice broke through the night, echoing across the street as other officers began calling out, scouring the area. "There they are!" a voice shouted, and Jake's heart jolted. "Time to move," he urged, pulling her to her feet. "Let us find a safe place." "Can you run? Can you?" she shot back, a flicker of playful defiance lighting her eyes. With renewed determination, they darted into the alleys, weaving between buildings and darting into doorways. The tantalizing distance of safety loomed around each corner, but their hearts were ablaze with purpose, ready to leave the night behind. They would rally the community. They would protect the vulnerable. The choices made that night, the connection they forged, had transformed them both. They were no longer just shadows fleeing darkness, they were a force rising. The stakes were high, the journey ahead uncertain, but together, they would forge a new path. Together, they would find hope in the most unimaginable places. As dawn began to break, the sun's golden light spilled over Maplewood, symbolizing a return of life and new beginnings. With every step they took, they felt the promise of what lay ahead, a world eager for change. And as they moved forward, they felt the warmth of hope igniting within them, illuminating the way to a future overflowing with possibility. The moment had come. Their journey was just beginning. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more hearts. Comment your reactions and feelings about this transformation. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this change, this hope. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second.